Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your usual hosts here. We have Tom Mannering.
Hello.
And myself, Josh Hartley. How are we doing, Tom?
I am tired.
He's very tired. He's been yawning like pretty constantly.
Yep.
While we've been catching up before we hit record.
But I'm here. I love our listeners. I love Josh. I'm here regardless.
He's definitely tired if he's saying that he loves me.
I'm delirious.
Yeah, he's out of his mind. Good Lord. What's brought this tiredness on?
Just a busy work week. Just busy.
Busy. Are you busy?
I'm busy. I'm very busy, and I don't know about what it's like in Carlisle, but I imagine it's quite similar. We've had quite bad weather here, so it's been very loud at night, which has woke me up a couple of times, which has not helped matters.
No, that's fair enough.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. We've got a little bit of stuff to talk about in terms of what we've been up to. We got to see each other recently
in person.
Yes, in the flesh, as
it
were.
On Friday, Josh came and stayed at my house, stayed in my bed.
An inflatable bed in your living room. Thank you very much. Although I think we did get an unusual look, like an odd look from the pizza guy.
Yeah, definitely.
So Tom's front room is very close to the front door, and you could see like the inflatable mattress that I had to sleep on from where he was dropping the pizza off. So he just did give us a bit of a side look. But
it was me and Josh opened the door to a pizza man with an inflatable bed right next to us. It's the start of an adult film right there.
Oh no. You've spoiled it now.
I'm here to thread the dough.
Yeah. Oh gee. No, stop.
The disgust on your face.
Yeah, man. We didn't do that, but we did watch Vox Machina.
We did.
So, are you still enjoying it?
Yeah, of course I am. I loved it. I thought it was a really good batch of episodes we got this week. It was even better because I had your company and a Domino's pizza, which is never a bad thing. We are open to advertisements, Domino's, if you're listening. But no, we had that. Probably shouldn't ask them for advertisements before I've linked them into pornos, but it's fine.
Tons of people have done that already, to be fair.
That's fair. So yeah. we watched the 3 new episodes that dropped on Friday, which I thought were great. Obviously, this is a continuation of the Briarwood arc. It was episode 7, 8, and 9, so it's the second to last batch we're going to get, with 10, 11, and 12 dropping on Friday, which will have been 2 days ago to people listening now. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm still really into the animation. I loved like the combat with like the zombie horde and stuff. I thought that was really, really cool. I was all in for that. I've just really enjoyed it. It's really hard to like not go really spoilery with it.
Yeah, I mean we can give a spoiler warning now.
Sure.
So shut your ears if you want to avoid spoilers. But by the time this episode is out, there'll be another batch of episodes. So
to catch up.
Yeah. Right. I personally enjoyed. There was a big fight scene with the professor with the silver tongue commanding the. How did that? I'm curious how that played out in the actual campaign. Were they golems that he was commanding, or was it actual animated suits of armor or whatever?
I am gonna be honest. I don't know if this is just because I'm tired, but I cannot remember.
Right.
I don't recall the episodes around. I'm like 80% sure it actually does happen in the live show. Not the live show, but the stream show, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember it transpiring. I thought they did a very good job sort of showing how the effects of like charm person and domination would kind of work, and the way they kind of portrayed that was really, really cool. And it's an I think I mentioned to you when we were actually watching it. It's interesting because it's Grog that he dominates first, and it's always like the meathead fighter, or whoever's. It's usually the most physically deadly person that gets dominated first. One, because they usually have the worst sort of corresponding save, whether it's wisdom or pathfinder if it's will, and two, because that's the person you want to turn against the party straight away, because they will they'll smash down your squishies, your wizards and things like that, or your healers. So I thought that was really, really well done. And then obviously like dominates sort of most of them towards the end of it as well, which was really cool.
Guys, always give your fighters or barbarians at least some points in wisdom for that very reason.
You don't want to be vulnerable in that area. It's a bit of a running gag from our original Pathfinder campaign that Barry's ranger, who was an absolute death dealer, was very vulnerable to mental coercion, and on several occasions nearly killed several people in the party.
Yep. Excellent.
Because of it. The other thing as well that I really enjoyed, and I thought was portrayed really, really well, was Pike's appearance. So in the live streams, Ashley Johnson wasn't there because she was filming Blind Spot. So she either wasn't in episodes at all, or would like zoom in. Not zoom in like on her legs, zoom in via Zoom meeting calls. I don't know if it was Zoom, but some equivalent. And I think it probably predates Zoom actually. Or very occasionally she would actually turn up at the table if she was back in the area. And it was fun watching Mercer try and have to find ways to have her character not be there most of the time, but also able to be there. And they actually kind of they pay tribute to that in how she appears as an astral projection, basically, and is still able to pretty much nuke the battlefield when she does appear, and basically clears the board for a little while, which was nice.
Yeah. Turn undead.
Yeah.
Great spell.
Yeah.
So, I am still really enjoying it. If I have one point of criticism, and I'm curious as to how you feel about it, in the animation, they very occasionally put like a 3D animation in amongst like 2D, what is normally a 2D animation, and that I find that a little jarring. Is that's not bothering you at all, or
no? I know exactly what you're talking about. It's never really bothered me. A lot of other animation that I've kind of watched over the years has done similar.
Right,
so like
okay.
Classic one for me actually that kind of is the first time I ever remember seeing that kind of effect done was in the 90s Spider-Man cartoon opening.
Oh my god, yeah!
Trailer. So they
forgot all about that.
They have this like 3D cityscape with like a kind of animated Spider-Man swinging through it, and I think it can be a little bit jarring, but it doesn't bother me so much because I love animation. Like I'm a really big fan of it in general. I like that we live in an age where adult animation is a lot more prevalent.
Yes,
because it just didn't really exist sort of 20 years ago, or at least it was very, very few and far between. So I'm really grateful that we live in kind of an age where it is socially acceptable to have cartoons for adults. And I love seeing different effects being utilised. Does it always work as well as the 2D stuff does? Probably not. But I think they're trying different things. They're seeing what works. They're trying to get a different kind of perspective on it. Trying to maybe see if that gels better.
Yeah.
And I think you'll probably see, if there are other people like yourself who do say, this isn't really working for us, they'll maybe dial back on that. It's interesting because I really, really do enjoy Titmouse's animation, and I don't want to seem like I'm bashing on them because I'm absolutely not, because it's majority superb. But every now and then I do see the odd, usually quite short scene where the animation quality does dip, and you can tell that like this was a scene they just had to churn out. You know, this wasn't one of the set piece scenes. This wasn't one of the really nice scenes. So like, for example, the scene where they approach the sun tree and the corpses are hanging from it, that was really, really well animated because it's a really important sort of moment. It kind of closes off an episode. But then there's a couple of scenes where they're talking and that, and I was like, oh, the animation isn't bad, but the quality has dropped sort of a peg or two from where it normally kind of sits. Because obviously they're going to have been working to deadlines, and you have to take this kind of thing where you go, well, what's our priority scene? What do we want to look really good? Do we want this, 3-minute scene that looks, that's quite plot relevant? Does that need to look really cool? Or does this, 6-second transition scene need to look really good? And they make the right choice. They choose the one that lasts longer and has the bigger impact. But you do notice it in those little drops. And I hope kind of going into the second season, when hopefully they've got a bit more time, they've got the money, they've got a bit more experience. If they can keep the quality up as well, that'd be awesome. But as I say, I do think across the board, the quality of animation is really, really good, and I am really, really happy with it. There's been some amazing scenes. The fight scenes are really well done. A lot of the character moments as well, and the facial expressions are all really good as well.
Yeah. I have, and like everyone I've spoken to about it has been overwhelmingly positive about it, apart from I've spoken to one person who doesn't like it.
So, without naming or shaming that person,
I'm not going to. No, I wasn't planning on.
I know. I kind of want you to because they deserve it, but no, it's fine. But what do they take issue with?
Okay, the main thing is that they feel that the excessive violence, the swearing, and the sex references make it immature, and they can't without getting them on the show and asking them like fully explain yourself. When I was having this conversation, they couldn't really get past that, and they felt that made it really immature, and yeah, it was. And I do understand that criticism.
No, it's a valid.
It just doesn't bother me. In fact, for me, I like the fact that it has that level of immaturity, because otherwise I think this story would feel very dark and very heavy. And it makes it feel more like a D&D campaign, because you do have those silly things, excessive swearing. It's yeah.
No, it's a really interesting point, and like yourself, I can't really challenge it. I actually agree that it is excessively violent. There is a lot of swearing, and there is a lot of sexual references, and some quite juvenile references. But especially being familiar with the source material, that is very much something that is prevalent. I think for me, probably the swearing was the one thing, and I'm not prudish when it comes to swearing. I swear like a bricklayer. But for me, the swearing, especially in the early episode, there was a hell of a lot of swearing right out the gate, and I was kind of like, they didn't swear this much in the show. And I know you want to get across that it is an adult show and needs to be kind of viewed as such for a number of reasons, violence and sexual content inclusive. For me, I did kind of feel that the swearing could be a little bit excessive at times, and there's just no need for constant F's and Jeffs. But the sexual content doesn't faze me. I actually think the violence is it's important to me. Like it's you cannot stab someone with a sword without it being violent, because it is a violent thing to do. And I think the kind of it's an interesting one. I don't know if you ever watched the 90s X-Men cartoon.
I did, yes.
So you've got Wolverine jumping around with claws popped out. Nobody ever gets injured, right?
No.
And I'm like, people should be dying. That guy, you cannot slash someone across the chest with 3 knives and they just walk away from it, unless they're like, got healing powers or something. And they always, and I've seen interviews with the people who actually made it, and they said it was so hard to have to put Wolverine in fight scenes because his powers are swords on his fingers, right? Like they're incredibly dangerous, and you can't just hit someone with a sword and nothing happens. So they had to be very kind of careful how they dealt with that. And what Vox Machina does right in that way is it shows you the visceral, just brutal nature of combat. If you shoot someone in the head, things explode out. If you stab someone in the gut, entrails pour out, and things like that. And I'm not saying violence like that should be celebrated, but it needs to be acknowledged as a reality, in inverted commas, of the fantasy world. When you've got these people doing these things, this is what's going to happen. Because it's not Power Rangers, it's not you kick someone in the chest and there's a little explosion of lights and they go flying back, because that's not what happens. Bones break and people die. So yeah, I like that visceral nature. The sexual stuff is it's intricate to the storyline. Like, it's Scanlan's entire character is a sex pest, fundamentally. He's a very sexual entity.
Yeah, and I think I didn't watch Critical Role, but from what I understand, it's kind of important to his character arc because he does mature over time. So it's it's good to get this. This is the starting point. This is where this character starts from, and then he grows out of this
to a degree.
Yes.
Yeah, it's if they do it as I suspect they will. There's going to be character development in there, but and this is another thing as well. Like, sex is a part of life. Like, how many times do people make innuendos and laugh about it? Even as adults. Like, I just don't understand why people are really prudish about this stuff, and why it shouldn't be included in there, especially as part of comedy. And I'm not referring to that person in general. I'm just talking in very, very general terms.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say I can understand it. Like, I can understand why someone wouldn't want that in the media that they consume.
Yeah.
Right. Particularly if I tend to compartmentalize shows and the like, and if it was in a show that I wasn't expecting it to be in, or wouldn't necessarily want it to be in, then that would probably bother me a lot more. I kind of had the briefing on Vox Machina though, so I knew what I was getting in for.
Yeah.
So
I think the first episode makes it very, very clear.
The first episode sets the tone.
Yeah, you know what you're getting in for very, very quickly, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're allowed to dislike things, and I take no issue with that. I'm not even going to do my usual and say you're wrong, because I don't think, opinion is what it is. Mm-hmm. I like everything it has in it. I think the swearing could maybe come down just a notch, just to make it a bit more consistent with what actually was in the show. Because there was swearing, 100%, but it wasn't as unnecessarily regular, is probably the best way I would put it. But for me, it doesn't impact my enjoyment, and it doesn't change my opinion of the show.
Good. That's not all we did though. We actually, for a rarity for a gaming podcast, we actually played a game.
We did. We played one game twice.
Yeah, because we played Legendary, and we used some of the new expansions that you got for it as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. So we played Marvel Legendary, which you've no doubt heard me talk about ad nauseum. So we picked up a.
Are you saying that to me or the listener?
Both. So I'm sure everybody who knows me is sick of hearing about it, to be honest. We played using one of the most recent sets, which is Marvel Annihilation, which is has Annihilus as a villain, and has a reprint of the Fantastic Four as a new kind of version. We used the old Fantastic Four set, which is one of the very early sets from Marvel Legendary, and we used Into the Cosmos, which is a couple of sets back, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used a bit of new stuff, a lot of stuff that I just haven't played with because I've been buying Legendary through lockdown, staying on top of my collection. I don't really play Legendary solo very, very often at all. So it's kind of been the first time I got to crack some of this stuff out with myself and Josh, and our first game did not go well.
No, it didn't. We got our asses kicked.
Yeah, we had probably the worst run of bad luck we could do. So, for those who haven't played Legendary, there are a couple of mechanics in the game. One is that the villain has schemes in their deck, so it's a deck building game. The villain's deck has a number of scheme cards in it, which will kick off sort of events for the villain that lead towards them winning. And unfortunately for us, all of those scheme cards came out really, really fast. Which meant the villain ramped way quicker than we were, and that was made worse by the fact that the place where we recruit heroes from was filled, again very unfortunately, with very high cost recruitment heroes, meaning me and Josh couldn't actually get heroes to use, so we basically sat there being just ravaged by the villain. But
it's alright because we played it again and we won.
We did.
It's all good.
Yeah, we turned it around. We had a good game, the second game. It was a nice... There was challenge, it wasn't... We didn't steamroller it. We kind of had to... We had to fight for it. We were playing the Fantastic Four. So Reed Richards, Sue Richards, Human Torch and Thing versus Annihilus and a bunch of random henchmen, including a rather blatant Scientology analog.
Yes. Well, too right, they're evil.
Yeah, they were. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really nice to just get a chance to play a game, and I know we've obviously got we're planning our 40k Crusade weekend soon.
Yeah, we are. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, it's really good. And that, funnily enough, will spin me onto a little announcement I've got that even Josh doesn't know about.
He said I've got news, but I don't want you to know about it. Get ready for my raw reaction.
Okay, so this is as I've mentioned on previous episodes, I have a Gene Stealer cult army, which is currently with my friend Will in Carlisle, who's very kindly painting it for me because he's a better painter than I am and can do it a lot faster than I ever could, and he's a very nice person. And I don't know if you've seen this on Facebook or not yet, Josh, but Will painted up my Gene Stealer icon bearer.
Yes, I saw that.
So it's kind of, they hold the banner, and Will has done this beautiful sort of banner with kind of a Gene Stealer symbol, but it's done in such a way that you can't really tell it's a Gene Stealer symbol because they use they indoctrinate people in it's like an Imperial cult, but then they pull the rug and it's a Gene Stealer cult. And I got a message from Will not long before we came on here to say, just so you know, your model is going to be featured on Games Workshop's Twitch stream.
Hey, no way.
So my icon bearer from my Gene Stealer cults, courtesy of Will's painting, nothing I've done.
I was just going to say, this is Will really,
yeah,
but it is your model.
It's
you bought the model.
It's my colour scheme as well. Well, it's not my colour scheme. It's the colour scheme of the faction I'm doing. But I've taken a little bit of involvement in this. It's Will's honour. It's Will's celebration, but it's my model. So I'm more happy for Will.
Yes.
And I just wanted to kind of reference it. Will's had plenty of models featured on various Games Workshop channels and things, and Ben's had one in White Dwarf as well, I think.
I was just going to say, Ben's had one featured on the Twitch stream recently as well. He was telling me this weekend. So
nice.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Unlucky frog all over the Twitch stream.
Yeah, right. Where is it? Where is it? Ben works, Josh.
Ashenhold Art. Air horns.
So yeah, that's that. I think that's featuring on. It'll be on the Friday just gone for people listening on the hobby roundup. So I'm going to be tuned into that and see what they say about Will's amazing work.
It's really well painted, but I bet the guy who owns it is an arse.
You're not allowed to be mean to me. This isn't our dynamic.
Turn it on its head. It's opposite day.
So yeah, I'm really excited about, obviously, to go back to our Crusade weekend, because we're planning this in sort of mid-late March. Yes. And obviously, by then, I'm going to have my Genestealer cults. I've got my new book. I'm not going to have a clue what I'm doing with any of it.
We're all going to be the same, to be fair.
Yeah.
So there's going to be Tom, myself. Will is up for it as well, isn't he? Mm-hmm. We've got a couple of other people that we know who might be interested. A friend of mine who I've been playing Magic the Gathering and some board games with, I went to school with, Rory, has dug out his old Tau army from his attic. So and they've had a new codex come out, so he's going to pick that up. So I might be able to rope him into some Crusade games.
The interesting thing about that is the Tau haven't changed all that much since they were released, which is kind of tragic for the Tau. But a lot of their old models are still in a degree of circulation as well. So
yeah, I think their model line hasn't aged too badly. To be fair,
no, it hasn't.
I mean, like, if out of all the old model lines, they're probably one of the lowest priority. They're doing the right thing by getting the Eldar redone. The Craftworld Eldar really needed it. I think other than them, I'd say the Tyranids have a really old plastic range, but most of them look fine. It's just really the classic Genestealers look a bit goofy now. Yeah, they could be better though. They could be. Compare them to the ones that you get in like the 3rd edition Space Hulk.
Sure, okay, yeah. I think the difference there is you're talking. So the classic Genestealers have a modular nature to them, albeit very limited. But they do have a modular nature to them, whereas the Space Hulk ones are posed in a specific way, which gives them the benefit of looking a bit cooler in that sense. But I do get where you're coming from in that regard. And I think you're right. The Tau aged really, really well. And they are one of the newer ranges of old models, if that makes sense. So they've got the benefit of that as well. And they have had a few new models kind of through the years. I mean, like,
Battletech mech style stuff is going to age pretty well. Because it's a very distinct style. It doesn't really change that much either. So.
Well, that's it. Like, how can you really... It's like Space Marines, like it took years for them to do anything with Space Marines beyond the basic, troops. And that was basically put them in bigger armor. And make the boxes more expensive. Wow,
you cynic.
I am a cynic. I'm very cynical, especially when it comes to Space Marines, as we've seen on the stream many a time.
On many a time, yes.
But yeah, I think the Tau aged really well, and I actually still really like their models. I think it would be really hard to redo battle suits and do them justice, because they are so stylized. So how would you do that in such a way that you kept kind of that distinct look and style without just reinventing the wheel? So I think they could probably do with a new fire team.
The Fire Warriors. Yeah, that's fair. If they were going to redo one kit from it, it would have been that. But
yeah, I think they could give them a few more options.
I don't think like we were saying about animation. Like Games Workshop have a limited number of resources that they can devote to their 40k lines. So they're going to put the most effort into the stuff that really needs it, like the Eldar Guardian kit. So I think that was the right call on their part. Cool. So obviously we're going to keep you posted as and when this, because we're probably going to be doing it in about a month, right?
Yeah, it's a month to tomorrow.
I wonder if I can get a bunch of Necrons painted prior to it. The good thing is, because I've got a couple of armies, I've got enough to dabble in a couple of different factions.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm probably not going to do is Imperial Guard, because they've got an old codex. Which is a shame, because I would have loved to have got the Bane Blade out.
What a way to start a friendly crusade with a bunch of people who haven't played for ages.
Bane Blade.
You're going to be that guy.
I'm not going to win this mission, but I'm going to have fun.
Yeah. I'm not going to win this mission, but I'm going to make sure you don't enjoy it. Classic Josh.
Hey, if you had a Baneblade, wouldn't you want to play with it?
I would, 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge anyone wanting to use a Baneblade. I think I'm a bit bitter on Baneblades after I had an experience going back to when I worked at a Games Workshop.
Okay.
So we ran an event night one night, and it was my job to plan it, right? So it's fairly early into my career. You know, I'd been there a few months, and I was told, right, we're going to do a late night event. I think it was like a Friday night, and like we charged people a very small sum to kind of come to it, and we kept the store open late, and we had food and stuff. This was back when you could do things like this. I don't think you could do that anymore. And we had a bunch of people come, and they all signed up, in advance, and we played basically an apocalypse game. So an apocalypse game, if you don't know, is a massive, massive game of Warhammer 40,000. So you have really big tables, loads of like stuff going on. Everyone has decent sized armies, and they get a chance to use some like really big units as well.
Yeah.
And there are like some apocalypse specific units. So I mean, like Titans and things fall into like apocalypse. This was a time when the only Titans you could get were Forge World, and nobody had one. So we weren't expecting Titans to rock up to the game, and they didn't. So that was fine. So most people signed up, and they came with just kind of their normal armies, but with like maybe an extra tank or two, or an extra special character to kind of bulk it out. And then one guy came, he's a friend of mine. One guy came, and his list was 3 Baneblades. And
excellent.
And we basically he sat down at his part of the table, and bearing in mind, in Apocalypse, Baneblades were more powerful than they are in normal 40k, because they had access to what are called Apocalypse templates, which are these massive, massive templates that. This is back when they used templates as well.
Templates, templates are not a thing anymore.
That cover like a 2x2 board section, right? And bearing in mind, we had like people, including like kids, like folk who are like 12, 13, 14 and that, set up on these. And on the first turn, the teams get their turns. The team with the Baneblades gets the first turn. He takes out one of these templates and wipes one of the players off the board.
Woo!
Just puts this tablet down, just completely wipes this. And he was like a 14-year-old guy. He's there with his dad, and he's paid, he's only paid a few quid, but he's paid a few quid, and he's made the effort to come down. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, I am so sorry. So sorry. And I ended up taking this kid and like taking him to the other side of the board, and we brought him back on as reinforcements.
Yeah. Nice. That's a good hand wave, that.
Yeah, because that was just... And I always remember, whenever someone says Baneblades, that's the image I get in my head immediately, is that kid being tabled before he'd even had a chance to roll a dice. So yeah, Baneblades are nasty. Not so much in just regular 40k and just one Baneblade. But if you rocked up and dropped a Baneblade, I would judge you.
You judge me anyway, it's fine.
Do you really need more judgment though?
I mean, have we not reached a critical mass of judgment? No, okay. Is that a thing? Is that possible?
You'll find out.
Wow, okay.
And on that note...
Yeah. And on that note, before we sign off, let's give a shout out to our Patreon and our Patreons again, because they're the guys who keep us going.
You wanted me to do this? Is that?
I was handing that off to you to sort of say something.
Okay,
yes.
That's fair. Yeah, no. So we have a Patreon, as Josh has alluded to. It's where you guys can obviously support us with as little as $1/pound, which is really appreciated. It keeps the lights on. It keeps us doing what we're doing. It allows us to buy extra equipment where we need it, like the mic that I use that we mention every episode.
Every episode now, yes.
Or like the like the subscriptions we have to
yeah, use. I was going to say in all reality, like the subscriptions that we have for like hosting the podcast, for the recording software that we use, it all adds up. So.
It does. And if you sign up, there's some opportunities there. You can play a game with me and Josh. Online, if you wish to suffer that experience. I am just as mean to Josh off the podcast as I am on it, so
I can confirm.
Enjoy that experience in real time. And there's a few other bits and pieces there as well. But yeah, even if it's just £1, just $1, it is Really appreciated. And thank you to all our existing Patreons for their ongoing support. You guys are the bomb.
You guys are the bomb, indeed. And on that note, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, take care.
Bye!
Bye!